You probably know what a latte is, but do you know why Americans invented the Americano? Why Finns put cheese in their coffee? Or why one of Vietnam's most famous coffees was born from a milk shortage? Before your next sip, here are the incredible stories behind the world's most iconic coffee drinks. The Espresso Family. Almost every drink on a modern coffee menu begins with one small but powerful foundation, espresso. It is made by forcing hot water through finely ground coffee under intense pressure, producing a concentrated shot topped with a golden layer called crema. That crema is more than decoration. Its color, thickness, and persistence can reveal how fresh the beans are and how well the shot was extracted. Even tiny changes in grind size, water temperature, timing, or pressure can completely alter the taste. Add a generous amount of steamed milk, and espresso becomes a latte. With roughly 3 or 4 parts milk to 1 part espresso, the latte is smooth, mild, and often the easiest place to start for anyone who finds black coffee too bitter. Its silky surface also became the canvas for latte art, which grew alongside specialty coffee culture and transformed a simple drink into a visual craft. Dilute espresso with hot water and you get an Americano. The name is commonly linked to American soldiers in Italy during World War II, who supposedly added water to strong Italian espresso to make it resemble the coffee they knew back home. It may look similar to drip coffee, but its flavor remains shaped by espresso extraction, giving it a deeper, slightly more intense character. A cappuccino uses a more balanced structure. Espresso, steamed milk, and thick milk foam in nearly equal proportions. It is smaller and foamier than a latte with a stronger coffee presence. In Italy, cappuccino is traditionally treated as a morning drink, largely because milk-heavy beverages are rarely ordered after meals. Then there is the flat white, a drink claimed by both Australia and New Zealand. It uses less milk than a latte and almost no thick foam, allowing the espresso to stay more prominent. Its velvety microfoam creates a texture that feels rich without making the drink taste overly milky. The Gibraltar, better known in many places as a cortado, sits between espresso and latte. It is usually made with nearly equal parts espresso and steamed milk. The milk softens the acidity without hiding the coffee, making it ideal for people who want espresso flavor without the sharp edge. Finally, the mocha adds chocolate to the equation. Despite its modern reputation as a sweet café drink, the name traces back to the Yemeni port of Mocha, once one of the world's most important coffee trading centers. Coffee from the region was famous for naturally chocolate-like notes. Today's mocha makes that connection literal by combining espresso, milk, and chocolate into one rich, approachable drink. When coffee becomes dessert, not every coffee is designed to wake you up. Some are created to slow you down and turn a simple cup into a memorable treat. Around the world, a handful of coffee drinks blur the line between beverage and dessert, proving that coffee can be just as indulgent as it is energizing. One of the best-known examples is the Affogato. In Italian, the word means drowned, which perfectly describes the dessert, a scoop of vanilla gelato or ice cream slowly melting beneath a freshly brewed shot of hot espresso. The contrast is what makes it special. The espresso brings deep roasted notes and gentle bitterness, while the ice cream adds sweetness and a silky texture. As the two mix together, every spoonful tastes slightly different from the last. In Italy, it's often served after a meal as a light, elegant finish rather than an afternoon coffee. Another favorite for anyone with a sweet tooth is the Café Bombón. Originating in Valencia, Spain, it's made with just 2 ingredients, espresso and sweetened condensed milk, in equal proportions. Because condensed milk is much denser than coffee, the drink naturally separates into 2 striking layers before being stirred together. The visual presentation is part of its charm, but so is the flavor. Rich, creamy, and intensely sweet, Café Bombón feels closer to a dessert than a traditional cup of coffee. Similar versions have also become popular across Southeast Asia, where condensed milk is widely used in coffee culture. Perhaps the most unique dessert-style coffee comes from Vietnam. Egg coffee was born in Hanoi in 1946 during a time when fresh milk was difficult to find after World War II. Looking for an alternative, bartender Nguyen Van Giang whisked egg yolks with sugar and sweetened condensed milk until they formed a thick, velvety cream, then poured it over strong Vietnamese coffee. The result surprised everyone. Instead of tasting like eggs, the creamy topping resembled a rich custard with hints of vanilla and caramel, leading many visitors to compare it to liquid tiramisu. What began as a creative solution to a shortage eventually became one of Vietnam's most famous culinary creations, attracting coffee lovers from around the world. These drinks reveal an interesting truth about coffee culture. Sometimes the most iconic recipes aren't created by following tradition. They emerge from creativity, necessity, or the desire to turn an everyday drink into something unforgettable. Coffee traditions that shape the world Long before coffee became a daily routine or a cafe favorite, it was already bringing people together. Across different cultures, coffee evolved into something much bigger than a drink. It became a symbol of hospitality, celebration, and community. One of the oldest brewing methods still used today is Turkish coffee. Instead of filtering the grounds, finely powdered coffee is simmered directly with water in a small pot called a sezve. The coffee is poured straight into the cup where the grounds slowly settle to the bottom. That means you never drink the last sip. Originating in the Ottoman Empire during the 16th century, Turkish coffee remains a cultural tradition across much of the Middle East and Eastern Europe. In some communities, the leftover coffee grounds are even used for fortune-telling, with people interpreting the patterns left inside the cup after the coffee is finished. Many historians believe coffee itself first came from Ethiopia. According to legend, a goat herder named Kaldi noticed his goats becoming unusually energetic after eating bright red berries from a wild shrub. Whether the story is true or not, Ethiopia remains deeply connected to coffee culture through the traditional Buna ceremony. This isn't something you rush through. Fresh green coffee beans are roasted over an open flame, ground by hand, and brewed in a clay pot called a jabana. The coffee is then served in 3 separate rounds, each weaker than the last. The first is for enjoyment, the second encourages conversation and reflection, and the final round symbolizes blessing and good fortune. The entire ceremony can last up to 2 hours, making coffee less about caffeine and more about spending time with family, neighbors, and guests. Across the Arabian Peninsula, coffee tells another story. Arabic coffee, known as kahwa, is typically brewed from lightly roasted Arabica beans and flavored with fragrant cardamom. Served in small handleless cups, it's rarely sweetened because the focus is on aroma rather than sugar. Offering coffee to guests is considered a gesture of respect and generosity, and in many homes, refusing a cup can even be viewed as impolite. Its cultural importance is so significant that UNESCO recognized Arabic coffee as part of the world's intangible cultural heritage. Mexico offers a completely different experience with Café de olla. Instead of using a modern coffee machine, the coffee is traditionally simmered in a clay pot together with cinnamon and piloncillo, an unrefined cane sugar known for its rich caramel-like flavor. Many believe the clay pot adds a subtle earthy character that can't be recreated with metal equipment. It's especially popular during Christmas celebrations and the Day of the Dead, when warm spices perfectly match the festive atmosphere. Then there's one of the most unexpected combinations you'll ever find: Finland's kaffeost. Small cubes of a mild cheese called juustoleipä are placed directly into a cup of hot coffee. Rather than melting, the cheese slowly absorbs the coffee, becoming softer while taking on its roasted flavor. The coffee is enjoyed first, and the cheese is eaten afterward with a spoon. It may sound unusual, but for generations in northern Finland and Sweden, it's been a comforting tradition. Finally, in Senegal, coffee takes on a spiritual meaning. Café Touba is brewed with coffee beans and a uniquely aromatic West African spice known as saline pepper, sometimes combined with cloves. The result is a warm, spicy flavor unlike almost any other coffee in the world. Named after the holy city of Touba, the drink is closely connected to the Mouride Brotherhood and remains a daily ritual for millions of Senegalese people. Together, these traditions remind us that coffee isn't just about how it's brewed, it's about the people who share it, the stories passed from one generation to the next, and the cultures that transformed a simple bean into one of the world's most meaningful drinks. How modern coffee reinvented the cup. Coffee has always evolved with the times. As new brewing techniques, changing lifestyles, and global trends emerged, entirely new styles of coffee appeared, some driven by science, some by convenience, and others by pure accident. One of the biggest innovations in recent decades is cold brew. Unlike traditional coffee, which extracts flavor using hot water in just a few minutes, cold brew is made by steeping coarse coffee grounds in cold water for anywhere between 12 and 24 hours. Without heat, fewer bitter compounds and acids are extracted, creating a naturally smoother, sweeter flavor. That's why many people who normally add sugar to hot coffee find they don't need it in cold brew. It's also often confused with iced coffee, but they're not the same. Iced coffee is simply hot coffee poured over ice, while cold brew is brewed cold from the very beginning. As an added bonus, cold brew stays fresh in the refrigerator for up to 2 weeks, making it perfect for busy mornings. Then came nitro cold brew, which took cold brew one step further. Instead of serving it normally, cafes infuse the coffee with nitrogen gas before pouring it from a tap, much like a draft beer. The tiny nitrogen bubbles create an incredibly smooth, creamy texture, without adding any milk or cream. They also make the coffee taste slightly sweeter, even though no sugar has been added. It's usually served without ice, allowing drinkers to enjoy the velvety texture exactly as intended. Not every coffee innovation came from years of experimentation. Some happened completely by accident. Greece's famous frappé is one example. In 1957, at a trade fair in Thessaloniki, a Nescafé representative named Dimitris Vakondios couldn't find hot water during a coffee break. Instead, he shook instant coffee with cold water inside a shaker, accidentally creating the thick, foamy drink that would become Greece's national coffee. Today, the frappe remains one of the country's most recognizable beverages, especially during the hot Mediterranean summer. More than 60 years later, another frothy coffee would capture the world's attention. During the early months of 2020, Dalgona coffee spread across social media at incredible speed. Its recipe was surprisingly simple: equal parts instant coffee, sugar, and hot water whipped into a fluffy foam before being spooned over cold milk. Millions of people recreated it at home during lockdowns, turning it into one of the internet's biggest food trends. Interestingly, the drink itself wasn't actually new. Similar whipped coffee recipes had existed for decades in countries like India, Pakistan, and Libya, proving that sometimes an old idea simply needs the right moment to become a global sensation. If you think iced coffee is a modern invention, think again. Many historians consider Mazagran to be the original iced coffee. Its story dates back to the 1840s, when French soldiers stationed in Algeria began drinking their coffee cold after supplies became limited. Over time, the drink made its way to Europe and evolved into several local variations. In Portugal today, Mazagran is often served with espresso, ice, fresh lemon juice, and occasionally sparkling water, creating a refreshing drink that sits somewhere between coffee and lemonade. These modern creations show that coffee never stops changing. Whether inspired by science, necessity, or a lucky accident, each new idea continues to expand what a single cup of coffee can be. The world's most unusual cups of coffee. If you thought coffee had already shown you everything it could be, these final creations might change your mind. Around the world, some of the most unforgettable coffee drinks challenge almost every expectation of what belongs in a cup. One of the most controversial is bulletproof coffee. Created by entrepreneur Dave Asprey after a trip to Tibet, it's made by blending brewed coffee with grass-fed butter and MCT oil, a fat derived from coconut oil. Supporters claim the combination provides steady energy and helps people following ketogenic or low-carb diets stay full for longer. Critics, however, argue that replacing a balanced breakfast with butter and oil may sacrifice important nutrients. Whether you see it as a health trend or simply another experiment, bulletproof coffee proves that coffee culture is constantly evolving. In Cuba, sweetness takes center stage. Café Cubano begins like a traditional espresso, but before the shot is fully extracted, the first few drops are whipped together with sugar to create a thick, caramel-colored foam known as espuma. The remaining espresso is then poured over the foam, producing a drink that's intensely rich, surprisingly smooth, and much sweeter than a standard espresso. It's more than just coffee, it's a daily ritual, and an important part of Cuban culture. Hong Kong offers another unexpected combination with yuan yang, a drink that blends coffee and milk tea into a single cup. At first glance, coffee and tea seem like complete opposites, but together they create a smooth balance between the bold bitterness of coffee and the creamy sweetness of Hong Kong-style milk tea. The drink became popular in the city's bustling diners, where workers needed something strong enough to power them through long days. Perhaps no coffee has attracted more curiosity than Kopi Luwak. Often called the world's most expensive coffee, it's produced from beans that have passed through the digestive system of the Asian palm civet. During digestion, natural enzymes alter the proteins inside the beans, which many believe creates a smoother flavor. But behind its luxury reputation lies an important ethical issue. As demand increased, many civets were captured and kept in poor conditions to maximize production. Today, truly wild-sourced Kopi Luwak remains exceptionally rare, reminding us that rarity alone doesn't always justify the price. Finally, don't confuse Vietnamese egg coffee with Scandinavian egg coffee. Although they share the same name, they couldn't be more different. Instead of creating a creamy topping, Scandinavian brewers mix a raw egg directly into dry coffee grounds before brewing. As the coffee heats, the egg binds to bitter compounds and excess oils, forming a solid mass that floats to the surface and is removed before serving. The result is an unexpectedly clear, smooth, and remarkably mild cup of coffee, a technique that has been passed down through generations in Sweden, Norway, and Scandinavian communities across North America. From butter and cheese to eggs, spices, and even coffee beans processed by wild animals, these extraordinary drinks reveal just how creative coffee culture can become. Every country has taken the same humble bean and transformed it in its own unique way. So the next time you walk into a coffee shop, remember this: you're not just choosing a drink, you're choosing a story, one shaped by history, culture, necessity, and generations of human creativity. And somewhere in the world, there's probably a cup of coffee unlike anything you've ever imagined.